Right, to really get good with footwork in surfing, you want to practice it when you're out of the water, not be trying to figure it out when you're in the water. You want to get used to the body mechanics when you're on land. The thing with footwork is, what size board are you riding? If you're riding a small board, such as like a 5'8" or 6'2", something like that, you'll find your footwork's going to be a lot smaller. And on short boards, you'll find it's primarily with that back foot. Whereas if you're riding something more like this, that's 8 foot or 9 foot, the distance you're going to be covering on it is going to be much greater. Because, say, on a board like this, that's 8 foot, I'm going to be getting up more central to it, and to really turn it, I'm going to have to step right back into the tail to get to the most pivotal part, and stepping forward again to gain acceleration. Whereas with a board like this, I'm actually going to find when I get up, I'm going to try and get up with my feet a little bit more over my back 2 fins, and then when I want to open up my turns, I just drop my foot back, widening the stance. This is where back pads are really good ideas for shortboarders, because they tell you where your back 2 fins are and where your back fin is, with your back fin being the most pivotal point. But when you're practicing footwork on land, know the distance of the board you're going to be using it on. So, like I say, if I'm going to be using a bigger board like this, I'll line up beside it and think, right, when I step back, I've got to step back into the tail, and that's that distance. Because I've got to get good at one, when you move your feet, especially on these bigger boards, it's foot to foot, foot to foot, foot to foot. The opposite of what you get in sort of boxing and fencing, it's foot to foot. And it's knowing that distance without looking down, knowing that that's the most pivotal part, and that's the accelerator. And getting good at moving up and down in a nice straight line. Same with shortboarders, it's knowing that that's the distance. That's the distance. And knowing it without looking, because you don't want to be looking down. You want to be looking at where you're going, not having to look at your feet to see if they're in the right place. So you practice this on land. For shortboarder, just take a minute a day, just thinking, good first position, standing feet roughly shoulder width, bent the knees, bent the hips, nice arch in your back, nice and evenly weighted, like you're sitting on a chair or a horse. And only thing going forward, your head and your hands, just nice and light. Keep the body nice and soft. And think, right, foot back to turn, foot back to turn. And again, once you're on that most pivotal point, you might want to stay there while you go through your combination turns, and then bringing that foot back up to accelerate. But practice that distance without looking at it. Again, if you're riding a bigger board, same thing. This time, both feet are going to be in operation, and it's foot to foot, foot to foot. But know your distances without looking down at your feet. So you get a really good feel for these movements out of the water. A good little trick to do, if you want, is even put a bit of tape, a nice line down the floor, stand yourself on it, close your eyes, and move forwards and backwards about 10 times. And then when you're finished, look down and see if you're still on the line, or see if you're still on your mat, and see if you can get used to moving straight lines without having to look at your feet. But know the distance of the board you're using, and practice it out of the water, even for 30 seconds a day. Because ask yourself, how many times a day do you get used to standing in that position and moving about? And sometimes the answer to that is not many. So if you use some land-based core drills like this, just to build some muscle memory and repetition with your surfing, stepping forward, stepping back, stepping back, stepping forward, stepping back, stepping forward. And like I say, really build up some muscle memory. Hope that was useful. Ciao for now.